The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Go Cowboys! This is Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw Dating, preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys, and broadcasting live from Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Girls Talk, Boys Talk. I am Kelsey Charles, brought to you. Wait, not brought to you. I am joined by Justin Morris, guys. It's been a long week. I need some coffee. Aisha Morrison. We are brought to you, though, by the official dating app of the Dallas Cowboys, Jigsaw. Hi, guys. It's been a minute. I haven't seen y'all.
I was going to say, are you brought to you by Jigsaw?
Nah, she done walked in here looking like a different person.
It's all good. It's all good.
I was not prepared.
You're like, I'm sorry. I know I haven't seen you in a minute, but I really haven't seen you in a minute.
Yeah, we haven't seen you in a hot minute.
I know.
We missed you.
Well, I'm happy to be back. I've been traveling a lot for work, so thanks for holding down the fort. But I'm excited because, listen, this is a fun game to jump back into. We all know these two teams have some significant history.
Yep.
Y'all all talked about OBJ. We don't have to go there. We won't. But I do want to talk about the lay of the land as we do head into the weekend. Jess, I know you guys got a chance to see some practice and some injury reports, so I'd love to hear who's looking like they're in, who's looking like they're out, because honestly, if I were in the Packers, I'm concerned.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we talked about how plagued Green Bay is right now with the injury bug, and that is absolutely showing on their practice report. We'll talk about that in a second. I pulled up the Cowboys right here. It said really the only person that did not participate in Thursday's practice for the Cowboys was tight end Jake Ferguson. Other than that, Anthony Barr, linebacker Anthony Barr also did not participate, but Jake Ferguson didn't participate today for the first time. He was kind of nulled off of yesterday's participation. Going down the list, Dorrance Armstrong was a full participant. Noah Brown was limited. Zeke was limited. And then Donovan Wilson also limited. All the rest of these guys were full participants. Michael Gallup, Malik Hooker, Micah Parsons, Dalton Schultz, Kevontae Turpin, and Sam Williams. So there's that. Aisha, you were going down Green Bay's practice report there.
That is a long list, my
and
friend.
It's a long. She was talking to me right before we came on, and she's like, "Dang, that is a list." I mean, man, there's at least 17 people on here. I think if I were to sit here and count.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
They had 5 guys come back today. I think Bakhtiari, who is important to what they do, he's dealing with an ankle. He's a tackle. He was limited today. And then one of their starting linebackers, if I'm not mistaken, is out to Devondre Campbell. He did not participate today. That's a big deal moving forward because they're going to be, looks like they may be down their 2 starting linebackers. So obviously that's a big deal. Something we didn't notice yesterday, Aaron Rodgers came up on the practice report. It was so long your eyes wouldn't see it. He was just
18 people, by the way.
I'm sorry, I'm still reading.
Yeah, 18 people. Aaron Rodgers came up yesterday on the practice report and did not participate in Wednesday's practice. He was upgraded to limited participation today for a, get this, right thumb injury.
Which he's been nursing kind of throughout the season, kind of just been playing through it or whatever, and I think that he maybe tweaked it during the game, and here we are.
I mean, the last weekend's game was the worst game I've ever seen Aaron Rodgers play in his entire career. And I really hope that injury is significant because I can't help but look at his performance and be like, there has to be something going on.
Oh, right. Because a lot of people are just like, how can he, be playing this poorly? Because it's different when you look at Aaron Rodgers and, obviously you have the conversation of, well, their wide receivers are young. They're trying to figure out those things, protection, whatever. But it's like a lot of the mistakes and a lot of the things that are happening with them are specifically just him. And with him being this guy that has all this savvy and knowledge, you don't expect for him to behave that way. But also just the outburst on the field and just I've never seen him behave that way. He's always kind of been, edgy. But today, on Sunday, I said, Aaron.
Child.
Now, Aaron, what is going on here?
I mean, seriously, though, it is, I don't know, it's very shocking to see, even though that he had this awful game, he's one of those players, especially if you're a Cowboys fan, that, he can have, that man could have half of his body just like flailing behind him, hanging off of him, and I'd still be a little bit afraid.
Yeah.
Like, I'm dead serious.
Y'all.
Like,
Yeah.
I really am. Like, he scares me even when he's broken.
And that's why I think it's
Dang,
so
that
important.
sounded so deep,
But
Kel.
that's-
That
that's
sounded so
literally
deep.
every Cowboys fan that you see on Twitter, on social
Yeah.
media, it is like, I don't care what's wrong with him.
It's almost generational trauma at this point, what Aaron Rodgers has done to Cowboys
It is
Nation.
100%, and I think that this game this week, and that's why I think this game this week is so important because, man, y'all need the mental peace. Like, what is this?
Here's the
Like,
thing,
I can't
though.
sleep. I can't eat. What?
Green Bay is on a 5-week losing streak.
It's alarming.
They have something to prove. And again, we go back to the Cowboys are the team to beat right now within their immediate schedule to prove, hey, we're not the team you're saying we are. So it's not a trap game, I don't necessarily think, for the Cowboys by any means. I think if they continue to build off of what we saw pre-bye week, they will absolutely come out with a win. It's scary when you have an Aaron Rodgers that's coming off of a 5-game losing streak, has something to prove. I mean, I don't like that, but it is interesting to see him pop up on that injury report.
I mean, you guys talk about something to prove, and I think that Aaron Rodgers has something to prove for obvious reasons. The performances have been alarming, to say the least. But I also, going on the flip side of his old coach, Mike McCarthy, I mean, if you want to talk about something to prove, I would definitely see him being in that mindset going into this weekend. I can never forget this image of him. It was after he got fired from Green Bay, and there was like some special, the specials they play during the pregame shows and all of that. I don't even know what channel it was on, but it was how Mike McCarthy was still in his house, and he had like a full blown like mini coaching staff, tearing down film, and like they were still like working, if you will. And I remember he literally had a tear in his eye when they're interviewing him, and he's like, "I need to get back to work." Basically, was like the crux of it.
I was trying to Google that, and just seeing Mike McCarthy and all of his Green Bay stuff is making me so sad. I don't like this view. Definitely giving me some trauma going back to the catch that Dez did have. But, what I did want to point out, too, I was going through the game packet that Cowboys PR is so incredible and puts together for every game. And get this, with a win this weekend. Let me go back to what it said about Mike McCarthy. It says, with a win on Sunday, head coach Mike McCarthy would record his 150th regular season win and pass Bill Crawler for the 23rd most all-time regular season wins among head coaches. A victory against the Packers would also give McCarthy a win against every NFL team, including postseason.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he didn't seem
Incredible.
like he cared. Like,
Yeah.
he was in the presser today, and he was like, okay. And I was like, nah, and even like Haley, who asked, was like, that's a big feat. In
Bill Cowher is no joke. Like, that's a legend.
Yeah. And it's a big deal. Like, and that kind of just speaks to his experience in this game. I didn't realize until they were talking about it this week just how long he's been a coach, just how long he's been involved in the league. So when conversations come up about head coaches and where they rank and stuff, it's just so crazy to me that Mike McCarthy is somehow looked at as this guy that's just kind of there for decoration. And it's like, no, what he's done is not things that, guys do often in this league. And then also some of the teams that he took to the Super Bowl, wasn't that great?
No, it's honestly
Defenses win
it's
Super
so true
Bowls.
though. Like some of the Green Bay, I mean, it wasn't incredible in my personal opinion. And honestly, like what he did with Aaron Rodgers, like I have a lot of respect for that. I think it was kind of interesting looking at how that whole thing came to a head because I can't help but think that Aaron Rodgers is doing a very similar thing right now with Matt LaFleur.
Well.
And it's like where you see like the guys that get to that level in their career, like the Tom Brady's and the Aaron Rodgers. I feel like they're the only two that really can do that.
Exist now.
Yeah, literally, or do that, where they'll look at the head coach right in the eye and be like, I hated that call. Like, and they'll just you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't seem like a coach and player relationship. It feels like they're equals.
Right.
Which is a very interesting, I would imagine it's a very interesting dynamic to be in. And it feels like in Green Bay, like, I mean, obviously McCarthy lost out and Aaron was like, yeah, I'm done with this guy. Like, you can't help but look at, he didn't have the best performances. Like, do you put it past him to maybe be like, yeah, I'm not going to try as hard for you anymore and I'm ready to see you go? Like, is that where Aaron is right now with LaFleur as well?
There's a lot of.
You could unpack that all you want.
But there's just a lot of. This is going to be a somewhat of a prideful game all the way around. I expect for Green Bay to come out. Their fans are probably going to be involved. They don't get to play the Cowboys that often, right? So I think their fans are going to be involved. I think that's going to be a big factor in the game. But there's it's even though it's been downplayed, it does feel like there are some stakes in this game. For some reason. I mean, when you go up against a 3-6 team, you don't say that there's stakes in the game, but apparently.
Yeah.
And then also too, there is conversation of is this maybe one of the last times we see Aaron Rodgers in that jersey, or the Cowboys get the opportunity to play him. So talking to some of the young players today, some of them are just like, we going up there. We going to go and they seem just very wide-eyed to a lot of the history that's involved, and that's normal. So I don't know. I think it's going to be a good experience for the young guys to get up there and experience it, the crowd noise, all that stuff in this game.
I think it's actually a great point before we dive into a break, and then I want to go X's and O's with you guys. But it's actually a really good point. Like this, gosh, I'm going to age myself. I got to stop talking about my age on air, man. But it's like I came in when Travis Frederick was drafted, right? Yeah. And guys, and granted he retired pretty young, but guys that were drafted when I was first starting are retiring now, or they are hey, we're talking about how many more years does Zach Martin have in him? All those types of things. Yeah. And so these guys that are new and fresh in the building, they didn't have the Des Cottet trauma.
Nope.
Right.
You know what I mean? They didn't have the lose in the NFC to Aaron Rodgers, end your season that you thought you were going to really have a shot at it. That does not come to mind for them.
Right.
It's a fresh slate. We are the ones carrying that trauma.
Which, again, it's just kind of crazy how the NFC as a whole right now, you can even say that maybe about Tom Brady at this point. Sure. I mean, those are names, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, those are two names that strike fear into you when you see them on the Cowboys schedule every season. Even this season, I mean, I can probably say 90% of Cowboys fans that predicted their season win and losses marked this game as a loss.
Hi.
I did too.
It's me.
Hi. I'm the problem. It's me. And I'm so glad you caught on to that. That's a Taylor Swift lyric. Just so y'all know.
Get a grip.
But never. But I think it's very interesting that the tides have officially turned, and it's a very full circle kind of moment. It's a circle of life, Lion King moment, if you will, where the younger guys, it's now their turn, and then the once younger guys that we know as the young guys. The questions start coming of, well, is this really the last time we'll see him?
Yeah.
When's the last time? This could be the last time we see him play against the Cowboys. I mean, that is absolutely insane. And something real quick, too, I wanted to throw in was Mike LaFleur actually talked about, he was asked if there needed to be changes on the coaching staff to jumpstart their season. And he said, no, we collectively have to do a better job, starting with myself to put our players in a better position, saying they did not capitalize on long drives offensively. What I really appreciate about that style of coaching is there's no blame on just one person. He could have sat there and said, well, Aaron Rodgers wasn't doing his job and making all those interceptions. I mean, really, he could have said that. He didn't. And never once did he throw anybody under the bus. It was a very we all take the responsibility kind of feeling.
Well, contextually, we know what he's saying. Stop throwing interceptions in the 10
we
yard
know. I was that might be some shade.
I mean, I felt like it was, but I do want to know what you're saying. That he's not trying to cause contention.
No, and but would you, if your job was being questioned in a press conference?
No,
you definitely wouldn't.
Copacetic, baby.
But I will say, going back to what you all were saying about the relationship between Aaron and his head coach, it seems pretty healthy, but you just go back to it's an identity crisis. It is an identity crisis for this team. So Cowboys can capitalize on that, add another win. Let's do it.
All right, well, let's talk about how the Cowboys can capitalize off this. We're going to break into, let's start with the offensive side of the ball after the break. Go ahead and stay with us, y'all.
At Jigsaw Dating, we obviously want the Cowboys to bring that 6th ring home. But to be honest, we're more focused on finding the person who will put a ring on your finger. That's why we created a dating app that reveals your face through meaningful conversation, so you can date deeper. Because it's personality that matters the most, not looks. Join Jigsaw Dating today, dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
All right, Pepsi-loving football fans, it's time we had a lesson in trash talk. And I'm not talking about that stuff that happens on the field. What I'm talking about is trash, and it's the only thing that belongs in your garbage can. Now, recycling might not be as thrilling as converting a 4th and long, but next time you're thinking about throwing that Pepsi Zero Sugar bottle away, just cap it back up and pretend you're down by 6 with the recycling bin wide open. Know the difference? Make a difference. Be a team player and recycle. Visit PepsiTrashTalk.com to learn more.
I'm Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys.
And they snap it to Prescott, who looks right. It's not there. He escapes left. He'll run for a first down.
Just like football, when it comes to crypto, it's important to have a team you can trust. With blockchain.com, I know I'm in good hands. Since 2011, they've been trusted by millions around the world to buy, sell, and trade cryptocurrency.
Prescott's going to run this himself. Run it up the middle, and he scores.
Whether you're new to crypto or an active trader, they've got you covered. What are you waiting for? Get started at blockchain.com.
Welcome back to the second segment of your favorite podcast and show, Girls Talk, Boys Talk, brought to you by the official dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys, Jigsaw Dating. Da-dun-ch.
Ooh, and if you know me, you know I've waited all too well for this moment to collide in my world, which is the Dallas Cowboys and Taylor Swift. So let's talk Taylor Swift, because Taylor Swift's The Era Tour comes to AT&T Stadium for 2 nights on April 1st and 2nd, 2023. You know where I will be those 2 nights. Tickets go on sale Friday, November 18th, but you can sign up for the Taylor Swift tickets pre-sale powered by Verified Fan today at taylorswift.com/events. Y'all know I already did that. Y'all know I already have everything set, outfit. I mean, I'm gonna be there going crazy. So if y'all see me going crazy for Taylor Swift,
business, huh?
no, I don't care. No shame.
Never mind.
No shame. We're trying to convert Aisha to become a Swiftie. I did send her All Too Well, the 10-minute version. The voice.
That is not how you do it.
Oh, no, she loved it. She loved it. She sent me a voice memo back, and she's like, wait, no, actually, this is good. I'm going to listen to it again.
Stop telling all my business on air. I'm trying to convert quietly.
So she admits it.
So undercover Swiftie over here in the corner.
We love it.
Not no other. Anyway,
You
We're working on it.
Speaking of coverages.
Ooh, good transition, Kels.
You're welcome.
I love that.
Let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys defense offense. My bad, guys. We're going to talk about the Dallas Cowboys offense and how they're going to attack this Green Bay defense. Aisha, I'd love to dive into some of the matchups that you personally are looking at. Again, I know that this Cowboys team has quietly become the contender to beat, or at least one of them, which is kind of fun. Can't say anyone saw that coming, but here we are either way. Green Bay, they're beat up, but if you're looking at the matchups at hand, where do you feel like this Cowboys offensive team can exploit Green Bay?
So one thing that I think that the Packers offense, we're talking about the Cowboys offense, them being without their linebackers, I think is going to be huge. Obviously, Preston Smith is a guy that plays well for them. I'm not sure what he looks like. He's questionable right now. But when you start looking at what the Cowboys like to do offensively, they're probably going to want to run the ball on this team.
Yeah.
I mean, other teams have seen success. They're giving up 5 yards a carry. Defensively,
Not bad.
And honestly, you can get up on these guys. Now, granted, the Packers secondary has some gentlemen there, like Rasul Douglas, who came over from the Eagles, is balling out for them. They also have Scantling, if I'm not mistaken. That guy is probably going to be matched with CD, so that's an interesting matchup to look at, him and CD. But honestly, I think the Cowboys should just come out and play their game the same way they've been playing it, very similarly. Just run the ball, let that off, open up the pass, or whatever the case may be. This defense is banged up in a bad way in the middle, and I think they can take advantage of that, exploit that, maybe get the tight ends involved. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to the Cowboys offense, you rely heavily on whatever 1-2 punch will be out there, whether that's Zeke and Tony or Tony and Malik. Right? I mean, I think it just depends on Zeke's status, how all of that goes. I thought something interesting that Mike McCarthy mentioned during his press conference yesterday was how his stance is based on how he's coached over the years on having 3 running backs in a game, but also having one on a rep count. Obviously being asked about Zeke at that point, and he said, yeah, no, it's kind of bitten me in the behind, if you will, to do that. If one, you have one that's already on your rep count, and then something happens to another one, then you're only left with your one running back at that point. So I thought that was really interesting. I think whatever 1-2 punch you get out of this game, you lean on that. You rely on that. Obviously, we know Tony Pollard can handle that workload, whatever the case may be. He talked about wanting to get more touches today in the locker room, and he said, whatever I get, I'm going to do something with it. So very excited to see Tony Pollard there with talking about the workload that he can handle. I also think something that was interesting, a very big topic of conversation in the locker room today was cleats playing outside.
Yep.
And we can talk about Mike McCarthy and give him his flowers all day, every day, because what I really respected is how you know how when somebody just tells you something so much, you're like, yeah, we heard it 20 times in the last 10 minutes. It was one of those things when the guys were like, yep, the first thing, what did Mike McCarthy tell you this week? About the cleats. Every single one. And it was like a joke almost, like, yep, he told us about the cleats. And it was really, really cool to see that was the first thing he had mentioned.
Sure. Was
the cleats and getting them adjusted to that. As far as Dak looks just so ready. I mean, the guy had a pep in his step today. And I think what was really special today was he was asked, about Mike McCarthy and returning to Green Bay. And he said, yeah, Mike's my guy. And somebody asked, well, do you ever have a conversation about that? He's like, no, he knows. He knows I have his back. To which he said, today's Mike McCarthy's birthday. So happy birthday, Coach McCarthy.
Happy birthday,
and
Michael.
He said, I made sure they played happy birthday for him today. So
good. I love that.
Yeah.
I love, as a former equipment widow, and I call myself a widow accordingly because
Kelsey.
I got to talk about my age and my dating life on every single show.
Oh, Kels.
It's like a drinking game. But I feel very well versed in talking about this because I lived this experience for 4 years. It is it really is understated the importance of equipment in a game. Mm-hmm. I remember we went to Wembley and you had to have certain spikes because there's different types of turf that you're dealing with, and honestly, when you have to deal with a natural grass, you have to have a longer spike on your cleat than maybe what you'd play on a turf, and that you may not be as fast, because if you think about it, just basic dynamics, your feet go into the ground a little bit more, and you got to adjust to that. You maybe got to make sure you're practicing with those outside on the grass field because you got to make sure you're used to that and how you can cut and how that impacts your cutting, all of those types of things. So, yeah, I mean, listen, I think that's going to be a really big factor. I'm glad that Mike talked about that because, again, this game, they're going to probably have 2 trucks versus the one because you're going to, you know what I mean?
Changing
changing
out a lot and stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
It's important, especially if you want your guys to get out there healthy. And like we talked about earlier, there's a lot of young gentlemen that are going up there and playing that have never played in that type of on that type of field before. So it's important if you want to get out healthy.
Yeah.
In this game,
yes. It's a great way of putting it.
Yes, they also got some help. I don't want to say that, but Rashawn Gary being out, one of their DNs, one of the best run defenders in the game, leads the team in sacks. He's out this game, and obviously that's going to probably open up some things offensively for this team as well. So, some the matchups.
You talked about the run defense, and that's how they struggle. And again, I feel like this has been an area of a strength, if you will, for this Cowboys team for several years. And so I guess I wanted to ask you guys, when I say run, I mean our actual rushing game. We've touted the fact they've had a two-headed backfield, right? And it's been really great to have Zeke and then Pollard and their different styles. But now I feel like with Zeke being out and Pollard's kind of slowly emerged as a guy that people feel a lot more confident in, is someone who can carry a lot of the load. Do you feel nervous if you don't have Zeke for this weekend? Because he hasn't committed to playing yet. You don't know where he's at. Are you at the point in covering this team where you look at Tony Pollard and you're like, listen, they can get the job done, they can do it well, especially when they can take advantage of a run defense that's struggling?
No nerves.
Yeah,
None.
it
No
depends.
nerves.
Honestly, like we talked about, I think it would depend on the game, but going against a Russian defense that is already somewhat struggling, it is one of those weeks where I'm like, you could definitely do without Zeke, but I know that he is important to what they do game plan wise. I also will say the argument of okay, well, Zeke's not out there. What about pass pro? Oh my God, because that's one of the conversations that comes up all the time. Absolutely. This pass rush does not strike me as one that maybe you need an extra guy in there for, because that's a big emphasis of what people want Zeke to be on the field for and what he does. So this is one of the games where I think that you could get away with it. Will it happen? I have no idea.
Yeah.
Because he practiced completely today, if I'm not mistaken. So that was important.
Yeah.
Right?
The thing was that we talked about yesterday was that when you look at this weekend, if the circumstances were different, if Green Bay had a winning record and things were shaping up to be a little bit different than what they are, absolutely. Zeke would, no doubt in my mind, I'd say, yeah, we need him in. But you have a luxury this week with the winning record that the Cowboys have, the losing record that Green Bay has, and the team that Green Bay has right now to allow Zeke to sit, not because I don't want to see him. There's not a game that I ever want to see Zeke sit, but allow him to rest because my mind, and I'm sure everybody else's mind, is thinking playoff time. Right. It is right around the corner. And I said this yesterday, I would rather have a healthy Zeke for the Christmas game against the Eagles, who at that point have statistically probably one of the easier schedules in the NFL, compared to Green Bay, who has statistically one of the hardest, if not the hardest remaining schedule in the NFL. When it comes to those two factors, I would rather have Zeke ready and healthy for the Eagles game, because that, I think, is really extending to be a matchup of itself. And I know that's December, that's far away. The Eagles are still undefeated, guys.
Yeah.
When you think of it that way, this game is not worth Zeke getting more injured. It's not worth him putting a strain on his body if he can help it, and he doesn't have to be. So I'm not nervous about it. I think, obviously we saw pre-bye week why we shouldn't be, but I would like to see a healthy Zeke even for the Vikings game. I think the Minnesota game is going to be very trying and taxing.
I'll do you one better next week. So it's that's when you want them. The Vikings have a stout run defense. They're playing like one of the better teams in NFC right now. I think if you want to gauge, this is definitely a playoff contender.
They're silent killers.
If you want to gauge where you are as a team,
that's it.
This is probably one of the better games to do so. And so you were talking about the Eagles now. I'm like, sis, next week.
I'm thinking playoff wise, but next week is a perfect example of that. Why you need a healthy Zeke.
Mm-hmm.
I would save Zeke, sit him, rest him. He doesn't want to. He's one of those guys.
Not.
He never want. None of these guys ever want to sit. But
you do have to at least consider it when you're game planning. And I think again, like if this was a different Green Bay Packers team, it feels weird to even be having this conversation about the Packers. But, if it was, then we'd probably be having different conversations. But, they're in an interesting predicament right now, and this Cowboys team has the total advantage and ability to take advantage of that. So we're going to talk about the other side of the ball, though, because I do want to talk about this Cowboys defense against Aaron Rodgers. Again, I think this is one of the most anticipated matchups of this upcoming game. So excited to dive into that. Go ahead and stay with us. We'll be right back.
At Jigsaw Dating, we obviously want the Cowboys to bring that sixth ring home. But to be honest, we're more focused on finding the person who will put a ring on your finger. That's why we created a dating app that reveals your face through meaningful conversation, so you can date deeper. Because it's personality that matters the most, not looks. Join Jigsaw Dating today, dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
All right, Pepsi-loving football fans, it's time we had a lesson in trash talk. And I'm not talking about that stuff that happens on the field. What I'm talking about is trash, and it's the only thing that belongs in your garbage can. Now, recycling might not be as thrilling as converting a 4th and long, but next time you're thinking about throwing that Pepsi Zero Sugar bottle away, just cap it back up and pretend you're down by 6 with the recycling bin wide open. Know the difference? Make a difference. Be a team player and recycle. Visit PepsiTrashTalk.com to learn more.
With Smoothie King's original Angel Food and new Angel Food Slim without added sugar, you no longer have to choose between treating yourself and hitting your goals this summer. You don't have to choose between great taste and feeling great. Because at Smoothie King, every blend is made with whole fruits and no syrups, so you can satisfy your cravings without compromise. The only choice you will need to make is which one is best for you. Try our classic Angel Food or the new Angel Food Slim, blended without added sugar. Smoothie King, rule the day.
All right. right, y'all. Welcome back to the final segment of Girls Talk, Boys Talk, brought to you by the official dating app of the Dallas Cowboys, Jigsaw. Why are you pointing?
I feel like I can't hear anything.
Oh, well, that sounds like a problem. You want to hand me the read and I'll do that?
Here you go.
Okay, I'm going to do this
hear.
read. All right, so I'm going to talk about Cowboys Christmas extravaganza while Jess gets her audio right. Cowboys Christmas extravaganza powered by Reliant at the Star in Frisco every Friday and Saturday night from November 18th through December 17th. The show is free and open to the public. Visit thestardistrict.com/Christmas for more info. And I can tell y'all, it is very, very fun. I saw them today putting up the tree. It's a blast. Santa comes. If y'all are Santa people, like that's the thing that they offer. It's pretty fun. It's a good
love
time.
Santa.
The DCC are out there. I mean, it's just like they killed it. Like shout out to Kelly Finglass. Like she's just amazing. Like what can't she do?
Yeah, I can't really hear y'all, but yeah.
Just go like this.
I can't.
just take it
Just
off.
take
There we
one
go.
of them off.
Okay. Well, yeah. Cowboys Christmas, and hopefully for Christmas this year we get to celebrate going to the playoffs.
I was like a Super Bowl playoffs, all the things.
All of that, yeah.
All right, well, let's talk about what it would take to get there because obviously this Cowboys team has to go get through Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers first. I'm on transition fire today. I don't know. Let's go. All right, guys. So I do want to dive into, again, Aaron Rodgers against this Dallas Cowboys defense. I'm excited.
I'm ready.
I am so ready. Again, he's coming off of a rough season and an even rougher game. He's on the injury report. Like, you got guys like Micah Parsons, and we just saw our guy DeMarcus Lawrence. I mean, it's just like, this is going to be fun.
Yeah, the Lions held the Packers to 9 points.
That's egregious.
And again,
unheard of.
And we talk, if without those 2 interceptions or, down in the red zone, obviously that game's a different conversation, but this Packers offense is only averaging, 17 points a game, 322 yards per game.
Justin Fields is running half of that.
It's crazy. And what's happening is that the QB is just, he's pressing. There's a lot of miscommunication with the young receivers, those guys, because they're out of place, because they're new. Like, they're just inserting gentlemen and trying to get things going. Aaron Jones is going to be important to what's going to happen offensively for them, because I do think that him and Dylan do have, some type of tandem as well, where Dylan is this power rusher, Aaron Jones is a little bit more slippery and can get between the tackles or whatever. So whether those gentlemen, that running back tandem, I think is going to be very important to what they're trying to do offensively, because quite honestly, unless it's Allen Lazard, who Trayvon Diggs is probably going to be matching up against, there's not a lot that they're getting from their receivers on that end either. So, this Christian Watson was stepping up for them. It looks like he may be available. He was dealing with a concussion situation. But for their offense, their run game is capable. Their offensive line is intact. Bakhtiari is dealing with that ankle injury, but their offensive line is pretty intact.
He's going to be back, right?
Yes, and so they
Hate
do
that
have
for us.
They do have the ability to run the ball when their gentlemen are there. It's really more so like the passing that has been not there so much, and their quarterback he gets upset about it when it's not there.
Yeah. I will say, too, Aaron Jones has been on the injury report with an ankle injury, and he was limited both yesterday and today for practice as well. I don't think they've made a set decision on Aaron Jones yet. So, again, if they do, that'll be interesting. If they don't, again, that'll also be interesting. But I said this yesterday, Kelsey, and I want to see your reaction, which is why I'm going to repeat it, because I don't think y'all let this sink in. When I saw this fact, my eyes basically popped out of my head. So on First Things First Take, they said that the Lions were on track to give up more points than any team in the history of the NFL. Keep in mind, that's who the Packers just lost to. All right. So statistically, that means that the Lions were on track to be the worst defense in the history of the NFL, and Aaron Rodgers could not score points on them. How? That is, y'all.
Not how.
Just what is going on?
It's more like a why. It's like, the how.
How, what, where, why, what the heck?
When you watch him, that's what you like. When you're watching film with Aaron Rodgers and even his savvy at the line of scrimmage, it just seems like the processing that is normally there for them. He had about 2 times to draw them off sides, get free plays, and he thrives in that. And that's another part of the game that I definitely want to talk about, is that these guys are penalty free. because this is also a team and a quarterback that if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile.
Yep.
If you give him a free play, he's probably going to take advantage of it.
Yep.
And you're just not seeing like that elite level thought processing, looking guys off, that type of stuff from Aaron Rodgers right now. It's very odd. Now, one matchup I really am looking for that we haven't talked about is Jaron Kearse going up against the Packers. Now, I think obviously there's been a lot of conversation with Anthony Barr being a former Viking. Hello.
Right.
Jaron Kearse is a former Viking as well, and this is a totally different role from him. He has the opportunity to maybe sack the quarterback or to get, to really influence what Aaron Rodgers is doing. And from his strong safety position when he played with the Vikings, he didn't have that. He wasn't in the box as much. So I really want to see how he keys in on the matchup between like maybe some of that back and forth with him and Aaron Rodgers, because this is an opportunity for him to play him in a different capacity that he's never played in before.
I love that because also, again, like I'm never going to count Aaron Rodgers out. And you just talked about like him, like he's one of those quarterbacks that could literally be looking over here and throw this way. Like he's got that peripheral, like he can, and he will mind F you all day.
Yeah.
He will. Like he will. And he looks at this team and he's like, I'm about to eat. I'm not even at my highest, like I'm not like playing as well as I can, but he'll still find ways, which again, like guys like a Jaron Kearse, I love that you bring that up. That's going to be such a fun challenge for him. Like it's almost more mental with a guy like Aaron Rodgers than it is, obviously you have to execute, but like you just really have to be keyed into the mental side of the game.
And I think this is a game for Jaron Kearse to have his breakout game since returning.
And last game was good for him too. But
yeah.
He's definitely
on the build-up.
Yeah, you can see
He's on his rise, and I think this is the game to do it. I also wanted to point out too, I was looking at a few things over here. One being on the media packet, it talks about two guys specifically. Trayvon Diggs, it says that Trayvon Diggs has 3 interceptions in 2022 so far. With another one, he would become the first Cowboys player to record at least 4 interceptions in back-to-back seasons since Terrence Newman had 5 picks in 2010 and 4 in 2011. On the other side of that, we're talking about LVE. LVE needs 15 tackles to reach 500 career tackles as he plays in his 60th career game on Sunday in Green Bay. So, a couple things to look out for. Something else. Aisha, you mentioned the word penalties. Man, I wish that word...
It's your trigger word.
I wish that word didn't make my wheel spin. I just got a little curious here. How Cowboys and even the Packers are doing right now in penalties. The good news, the Cowboys do not lead the league in penalties so far, but they are pretty up there, but the Packers are even higher so far. So far this season, the Packers have 56 penalties and the Cowboys have 55. So they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The Packers are 6th in the league. The Cowboys are 8th in the league with penalties. So I'm just warning y'all, if we're talking about penalties come Monday, here's your trigger warning that might be a thing. But it is an opportunity for the Cowboys to potentially play on that weakness from the Packers, and you could say that vice versa as well, to get some free plays out of them. So
what about this Cowboys secondary? You mentioned Jaron Kearse. I mean, talk to me about the potential of other guys like a Diggs. Like, do you feel like this is an opportunity that Diggs can really feast, if you will? Because again, like if I'm Diggs, if I'm Mike, I mean, again, like I could just name off the key players on the defense, but if I'm Micah Parsons, I am like hungry. But if I'm Trayvon Diggs, I'm even more excited because I just feel like you saw him and he just wasn't getting his throws off. It was like he was completely hitting the wrong targets. He didn't have it just felt like so off. And like a guy like Trayvon can jump in and really channel that wide receiver mindset. And I think this could be a big game for him.
Well, and also, too, when you look at, like I said, we talked about the matchup of Allen Lazard and Trayvon Diggs. Allen Lazard is definitely right now Aaron Rodgers' go-to guy. He's the guy that he goes to when he's in a bunch. And it's going to be interesting to see what the next option is if he doesn't go to Lazard because Trayvon is on him, if there is a second option, or if he decides, I don't care. I'm going to continue to, because this is the only gentleman that I think that he's had ample playing time with. So you can see that he trusts him on tape. So I do think there's going to be opportunity there for this secondary, just because of if the Packers are in situations where they have to pass, I do think the secondary can take advantage because the chemistry and communication between these young receivers and Aaron Rodgers are just not there yet.
Right.
And a lot of that is some of the protection and whatever, but a lot of it is just the quarterback, just being honest.
Yeah.
I actually want to ask you, because I know we've talked about special teams a couple of times. And I want to take the last couple minutes because, listen, Coach Rich Bisaccia, special teams coordinator for the Green Bay Packers, is my work dad. I love him, and I need you to tell me. Well, it's like I need you to tell me good and bad things. I need you to tell me that we're going to beat him, but then I want you to be like, but it's not going to be because of special teams. Like, he's going to do well.
Well, okay. Let's go to the Cowboys special teams first, because of course y'all know I caught up with my guy Cavante in the locker room. Just hey, how are you? Because I did see him pop up on the injury report.
You drive that train, and I love that.
Turpentine.
You're like, beat.
But I did see him pop up on the injury report for a chest injury. He obviously participated yesterday and today in practice. So I just, hey, how are you? And he said he's doing good. So here's the thing. I think the Cowboys special teams is something that's so overlooked sometimes because they have been productive. And we were even talking about this. You want to talk about special teams? Brett Maher. That's a name we haven't talked about, but that's a good thing. And I know Kelsey drives that train. Yeah, she drives that train.
It's been so good.
But the thing is
happy for him.
We haven't talked about him because he's been so consistent.
Right.
And I think that is so important to the success as a whole as a team. But I think special teams in general, give credit where it's due. Bones Fossil, thank you so much for being you and being the incredible coach. Just this entire coaching team deserves their flowers. But I think special teams is going to be a big deal for this. We were talking about that earlier too, Aisha.
Yeah, the hidden yardage is going to matter in this game. And when I say hidden yardage, I mean those are like when Turpin has like a 16-yard return on a good punt, like that's a first down already and then some, right? So the hidden yardage to me is going to matter. In any road game you're playing, noisy environment, all that stuff, field position has been important for the Cowboys every year. I'm telling you, when they are starting pinned, they've always had trouble driving the ball down the field. Yeah. So hopefully Turpin comes in and flips that field. But if there are field goal opportunities, because it is chillier out there or whatever the case may be, it's kind of cool to know that Brett Maher is that guy. But you were telling me that Green Bay actually ranks pretty highly in special teams.
Yeah, I don't know how. I don't know how I
That's Bisaccia, baby.
I don't know how I closed the tab. And I don't want to sit here and scrambling to find it. But, yeah, the Green Bay special teams is doing pretty well. Something interesting, too, you're talking about hidden yardage and when it comes to Cavante Turpin getting that field position. It was when was the last outdoor stadium they played? Where was that?
Barnacles.
Okay, whenever it was a couple weeks back. It's slipping my mind right now. I had talked to him that week.
The Giants?
It's the Eagles.
Was it that?
The Eagles would have been. Yeah.
Okay. So when we were talking about, hey, this is maybe your first time playing outside real grass, he was like, oh, no, that helps me. I mean, really, Cavante Turpin feels comfortable playing on that grass and that turf. So I think, if anything, I'm going to say it every week, it could be Turpin time this week. You could potentially see him taking it back because he says he plays better on that kind of grass.
Okay, so call your shots right now. Let's hear it. Who you got winning the game? I'm not going to make you do a score prediction.
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest, my mathing is not going to be a thing right now. So, yeah, seriously. Like, I'd probably be like 67 to 10.5, and you'd be like, what?
Kelsey, if that's the ending score...
I feel like
67 to 10. That's Kelsey's score prediction. I love that.
I will figure it out. Unclear. Who you got winning this game?
You know what? Usually I would just say, oh, the Cowboys, yeah, because I ride for them, right? No, the Cowboys should absolutely win this game. There's no reason that they should not. If they don't, if they play their complimentary football, all three phases, there's no reason they don't win this game.
Oh, I was waiting for the but. Okay,
no,
so she got the Cowboys.
It's just, we're talking about Aaron Rodgers too, y'all. Like, you can't count him out. You can't. However, he's not playing like our typical Aaron Rodgers. He's like a variant version of Aaron Rodgers right now, if you will.
You telling me that him and the guy that be in the crowd that look like him switch places?
Probably.
He's like, I took a vacation. I know exactly what you're talking about. That's so good.
Yeah. But I just... favorable matchups all the way around. Mm-hmm. Health is important here. Definitely can see them pulling out this win. And again, I think it's going to be an important win moving forward for them to get this monkey off their back.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and take the Cowboys as well. I'm going to make some like lame charcuterie joke about eating a cheese. I don't really care. That's what I think is going to happen.
Shredded cheese.
They need to make it happen. I think they can make it happen. I think they need to go out and execute. I think it's going to be a moral victory as well if they can make this happen too for both the team, the locker room, and the Cowboys Nation. So
and for Coach McCarthy.
Yes, 100%.
Like I want to see Mike McCarthy get the game ball.
I need just
at
to
the end
see
of it.
Dez's tweets. Like I'm just going to be looking at Dez's timeline the entire game. Like I cannot wait. And like, oh man, I'm going to pull out some like referee tweet of some sort.
Man.
I'm going to be like,
oh man,
I can't even look at you
because it's been so long.
I know,
man.
seriously.
No, I do want to see Mike McCarthy get his game ball.
Let's turn the tide.
Yep.
Let's turn the tide.
Well, I'm going to wrap up really quickly because tomorrow is Veterans Day, and we have a veteran on our show.
Our girl.
And I need to just make sure that I thank you and I thank everyone who has and is serving because you guys really are the true heroes. And we greatly appreciate everything that you do and the sacrifices that you make. It does not go unnoticed.
Absolutely.
And thank you. So thank a veteran and do something nice for someone tomorrow.
Hug them.
Tweet
ask
Aisha
them,
and say
if
thank
you. Ask
you.
them if they're okay. Ask them twice.
Yep.
Love that.
There
All
you
right,
go.
guys. Thanks so much for joining us. We really do appreciate it. For Aisha Morrison, Jess Navarez, I'm Kelsey Charles, and also Jazzy on the board.
Jazzy.
Another
Our
episode of
Jazzy.
Girls Talk, Boys Talk. See you guys next week.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!